Good evening. It's known as Hollywood North, but tonight there are fears Canada's film industry could be decimated by threats from the American president. This winter scene you can see behind us, just one of a number of productions being shot around the GTA. Productions that may be forced to move after Donald Trump labeled foreign-made films a national security threat. CTV's Rahim Ladani is live tonight with more. Rahim, a new chapter unfolding in the Tariff saga.
And Michelle, it certainly is. Good evening to both you and Nathan. The White House is now walking back Donald Trump's earlier comments, saying no final decision has been made on a foreign film tax. However, the threat of disrupting $1.8 billion to Ontario's economy is being met with a lot of caution. Just like the Incredible Hulk smashing through Knox College in Toronto, Canada has been the stage for blockbuster sensations for decades. But the curtain may be closing on Hollywood North, with U.S. President Donald Trump ordering 100% tariffs on all movies produced outside the United States.
It's nonsense. I mean, it's hard to understand what he means. Lots of films are produced outside the U.S., but about 80% of studio movies are produced inside.
In a late-night post on Truth Social, Trump described the situation as a national security threat. A recent survey of studio executives revealed the United States outside their top 5 of preferred production locations, while Vancouver, Britain, and Toronto were the top 3.
Other nations have been stealing the movie-making capabilities from the United States. I've done some very strong research over the last week, and we're making very few movies now.
One potential reason for that is the significant tax incentives offered by international governments, seen as a mutually beneficial partnership. In 2023, there were 400 film and television productions in Ontario. They created more than 25,000 jobs and spurred $1.8 billion in economic activity.
Hopefully this will be raised by President Trump and our new Prime Minister, and then we could get to the bottom of it so the industry itself doesn't get hurt.
Just like cars, different parts of the same movie are often produced in the United States and in other countries. It's unclear how that tariff would be calculated, and the uncertainty could cost the movie industry at the box office.
Very likely what will happen here is you'll get retaliatory tariffs against the U.S., making American films impractical to play overseas and around the rest of the world, which, of course, as we all know, is where a good chunk of the money comes from these days.
Ontario's Economic Development Minister says if needed, he is ready to suit up again and head back to Washington and fight the tariff. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Rahim. Also tonight, tariffs, trade, and national sovereignty. Prime Minister Mark Carney heads to Washington for his first meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. A preview coming up.
Well, it's not a trade war, but there's another Canada-U.S. battle about to begin, starting tonight at Scotiabank Arena.
Leaf fans are set to cheer on their team as they get ready to take on the Florida Panthers in Game 1 of their second-round playoff series. CTV Sean Leathong is live tonight outside the arena with just under 2 hours to go before puck drop. Sean.
Well, Nathan, Michelle, the rain has held off and the fans are filing in even though we have 2 hours until puck drop. We're hoping that the team tonight can hold off the Florida Panthers.
3 seconds to go. The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup.
They reached the mountaintop just last season, and now they're here in Toronto, putting the Leafs in an unusual position, underdog.
Anytime you're playing the Stanley Cup champions, you're going to be the underdog, right? They've proven they're a great team over the last few years, and, you know, they are a real good team. They're a very good team. We're a good team, too.
While the Leafs finished atop their division, Florida won 3 of 4 games against Toronto this year. And these two teams met in the second round of the 2023 playoffs, ending like this. While the last series that these two teams played ended just 2 years ago in this building, this one has some subtle but notable changes. 3 players from last year's championship-winning Panthers are now on the Leafs, including goalie Anthony Stolarz and defenseman Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who says there may be some inside knowledge.
Obviously a different year, new team, but when you have that experience, you're trying to pass that along with your teammates.
For the Leafs' big guns, it's a chance to prove themselves, though forward Mitch Marner may be a little tired just a day after the birth of his son Miles.
I was just cheerleading, so I was just trying to support my wife as much as possible. But yeah, last night I got a good night's rest. I was in the hospital just beside her and Miles.
And while the team knows Florida may be a big team to match, so do the fans.
Florida, defending champs, so it's 50-50.
It's intimidating, not gonna lie, but you know, I believe in the Leafs.
Florida, I mean, they went to the finals twice in a row. It's going to be a tough series. It won't be like Ottawa.
I don't know, any team that's based out of somewhere warm, I don't really trust them.
All right, you can see the fans surrounding me right now. They're ready to go. They're going to be here all night. You know that this place will be rocking tonight. This place behind our camera will be rocking tonight. Let's check out how you're feeling today. Who's going to win?
Leafs in 4. Of course, Leafs 5-1 blowout.
What do you think?
Leafs in 4 always. We always believe.
Let's go Leafs!
All right, the fans are ready to go here. Let's see what they got tonight. Start of the second round in just a couple hours. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathog. Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks to everyone there. Appreciate it. We're hoping the wet weather holds off for Leafs Nation, but as we take a look at the conditions this hour, actually not looking too bad, but it is entirely possible we could be in for a dose or two of rain, maybe even some lightning. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a look at the current conditions. Are they going to be okay, those fans out there?
Well, I think they better pack the poncho just in case, Michelle. You're right. All is calm right now. We have had an increase in cloud cover. And let me show you the satellite and radar. All of that rainfall south of the border is headed our way thanks to a cutoff low, and we'll detail that a little later in the program. We've got east winds right now. They're a little gusty out there too. It's keeping some communities a little bit cool. For example, Hamilton right now is 10 degrees colder than Parry Sound, 22 degrees in Parry Sound right now. We too are in the upper teens, both at the islands and at Pearson Airport. There's puck drop tonight. We have to mention the potential for some thunderstorm activity, at the very least some rain expected this evening. We'll also detail what's in store for the rest of the week coming up in your weather forecast. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Transit advocacy groups are raising concerns about upcoming city maintenance, which will affect streetcar routes and riders.
The work will see 4 streetcar routes diverted onto the same line for nearly a 4-kilometer stretch. CTV's Janice Golding is live along that stretch tonight with the details. What do we need to know, Janice?
Hi, Michelle. Well, construction projects are about to create some commuter chaos in the downtown core, with about 100,000 TTC customers expected to be impacted during the rush hours. Some streetcar users will be facing a summer of disruptions. In fact, starting this Sunday, there will be changes to the 503 Kingston Road, 504 King, and 508 Lakeshore streetcar routes. Passengers will be diverted onto Queen between Spadina and York, then onto Richmond and Adelaide from York to Church Street, before ending back on Queen Street to Broadview.
You can at least walk to where I'm going to go downtown, so that's okay, but I am a little bit concerned for people driving.
If you're relying on transit at this point to be on time, you just got here. It's 45 minutes to walk, 45 minutes on the subway, 45 minutes by car. It doesn't matter.
The diversions will start May 11th, with some ending in June, although others will continue to divert through August.
If you stay on the streetcar through those diversions, you're probably talking about maybe about a 5 or 10 minute extra trip at the busiest times of day only.
The TTC says it sympathizes with customers, but adds it has no choice. Repairs need to be made to track switches and overhead wires, as well as water mains.
You know, the city needs to do water main work in that area. It's very old infrastructure. We need to do track work in that area at King and Church, very old infrastructure. So we're doing these things together. It does mean a larger disruption, but a shorter period of time.
Transit advocacy group Code Red TO says it's aware the repairs are necessary.
All of the tracks that are used to change direction at King and Church haven't been replaced since 2003, and they're overdue.
But with more than 3.5 times as many streetcars running on Queen Street during this period, it says steps should be taken to keep traffic moving.
So a simple approach would be something like no left turns during this diversion.
Code Red TO is also calling for a minimum of 10 traffic wardens to be stationed at the busiest intersections. Now, the TTC says that Wheel-Trans will continue to operate in the area wherever local traffic is permitted. Reporting live from Janice Golding, now back to Nathan.
All right, thank you, Janice. A note for transit users, there are changes to subway service this week. Service on Line 1 between Shepherd Yonge and College stations will end at midnight today and Wednesday to accommodate fans heading home after the Maple Leaf playoff game. On Tuesday and Thursday, service will end at 11 p.m. Shuttle buses will be running in place of trains. The final girl to face trial in the swarming death of a homeless man in the city has pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The girl was set to go on trial, facing a charge of second-degree murder in the death of 59-year-old Kenneth Lee in December of 2022. Police arrested 8 girls between the ages of 13 and 16 years old in connection with his death. All were charged with second-degree murder, though 7 have since pleaded guilty to lesser charges, including manslaughter, assault causing bodily harm, and assault with a weapon. One girl is awaiting a verdict later this month after being tried by judge alone. The family of a mentally ill man who died in prison is demanding to know if the province has implemented any recommendations that came from a coroner's inquest.
To the Premier, I say this to you. You talk about protecting Ontarians and Canadians, but what about protecting vulnerable Ontarians and Canadians?
Solomon Fikiri died after being beaten while in custody in December of 2016. He'd been arrested after allegedly stabbing a neighbor during a mental health crisis. In 2023, jurors issued 57 recommendations meant to improve oversight of Ontario's correctional service, as well as access to mental health care.
I think it's critical that we know what it is they're actually doing. So a statement that recommendations are being implemented accompanied by no information about what steps have been taken or are intended to be taken rings hollow. And of course, the inquest itself, the recommendations, I think, envision that there would be some process or structure. That's why it suggested striking the implementation committee. But even that basic operational step has not been undertaken.
The Canadian Civil Liberties Association sent a letter to the Solicitor General, co-signed by Fikiri's family and other organizations, calling for the recommendations to be addressed.
Still ahead, a show of support for the woman at the center of a high-profile trial accusing 5 former junior hockey players of sex assault. The complainant back on the stand today, testifying about what happened in a London hotel room. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be at the White House tomorrow for his first in-person meeting with Donald Trump. The U.S. president's tariffs are due to be the focus of these talks. And today, Trump was asked about his expectations for the meeting.
I don't know. He's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
Carney arrived at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland this afternoon. Canada's delegation also includes the Minister of International Trade, the Foreign Affairs Minister, and the Minister for Public Safety. They will meet tonight with Canadian and American business leaders before tomorrow's White House visit. Carney says he wants to address the broader relationship between the two countries with Trump, as well as the tariffs. The PM has said his expectation is that the discussions will be difficult yet constructive. Yesterday, Trump said he will always talk about Canada becoming the 51st U.S. state and said the topic will come up during tomorrow's meeting.
Meanwhile, Doug Ford's among 6 Canadian premiers invited to Boston to discuss the impact of the tariffs. Governors of Massachusetts, Maine, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Vermont have extended the invitation to the provincial leaders. The other premiers are from Quebec, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland and Labrador. The announcement was made by the Office of the Massachusetts Governor. It says more details about the meeting will be forthcoming. Meanwhile, the Premier has written to the Prime Minister to outline his priorities for the future relationship between this province and the federal government.
As the 2 levels of government aim to tackle the tariff threat, the Premier is also seeking federal support on several other priorities as well. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has more.
With the Prime Minister off to lay the groundwork for a new relationship with the U.S., some encouragement from the Premier.
I just mentioned to him, don't get bullied, be strong, and we have your back.
Doug Ford is out with a wish list, nation-building projects he wants Mark Carney to have the provinces back on. Things like nuclear power generation.
For the Ring of Fire, deep sea port in James Bay, GO 2.0, which is absolutely critical for getting people from point A to point B.
and the controversial proposed tunnel under Highway 401 for cars and transit.
Oh my goodness, honestly, this is outrageous and ridiculous.
The cost of that tunnel could bankrupt this province. It's a 40-year project, frankly, that will not address traffic gridlock or congestion today.
For the opposition leader, the Premier's approach is baffling as tariffs cost hundreds of workers their jobs.
For the Premier to prioritize these vanity projects over things like housing, over safe roads in every other part of this province, it just boggles the mind.
The Green leader would also rather the province stimulate the economy by building homes and more.
Why don't we have a nation-building project to have an east-west grid so we can actually power our economy with clean energy?
But the transportation minister defends pushing ahead on tunneling.
The cost of not building is far greater. We have to look at the 401 as one of the most congested places probably in all of North America.
At this point, there's been no firm commitment from Ottawa to a Highway 401 tunnel. But the transportation minister says the province will keep those conversations going. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The province's finance minister announced the expansion of the Ontario-made manufacturing tax credit during a news conference in Oakville this morning.
We're proposing to increase the tax rate from 10% to 15% for Canadian companies and expand eligibility to include public companies who want to invest, build, and hire right here in Ontario. Altogether, this would provide roughly $1.3 billion in additional support to the sector over the next 3 years and would enable manufacturers to receive as much as $3 million per year in tax credits. This would be a major boost of confidence to the sector as it looks for certainty at a time when U.S. tariffs signal all but business as usual.
The government is providing an additional $1.3 billion over 3 years to help lower costs for businesses that invest in buildings, machinery, and equipment that are used for manufacturing or processing in Ontario.
The woman at the center of the sexual assault trial against 5 former World Junior Hockey players testified today about her experience on the night in question.
CTV's John Vanavalley-Rao reports the complainant told jurors she felt drunk, numb, and demeaned.
As the accused arrived one by one outside the courthouse, they were met by protesters there in support of the complainant, known only as EM, who inside testified further about what happened after she met several members of the 2018 World Junior Hockey team at a London bar. She says she'd consumed about a dozen drinks that night and went back to this hotel with player Michael McLeod, where they had consensual sex. But she says afterwards he got up and started texting. I just assumed that I'd be staying there for the night, maybe just the two of us, said EM. But she says other men entered the room and says they placed a bed sheet on the floor and told her to lie on it. She says some of them made a sexual comment about golf clubs. It felt really uncomfortable. I was already naked and drunk and feeling really vulnerable. She says 3 men pulled down their pants and obtained oral sex, adding there was shouting and the men encouraged each other. I didn't know these men at all. I didn't know how they'd react if I did try to say no or try to leave. It seemed like the only safe thing to do was just give them what they were wanting. She told the jury a few times she started to get dressed and tried to leave in tears. She testified, that's when a man would approach me and try to convince me this was all fun and that it was fine. She says a player followed her into the bathroom and had sex with her, adding she felt she didn't have control over it. The court was shown a pair of cell phone videos, including one in which EM broadly consents to the activity, but testified she just wanted to get out of there.
You can't consent, when you are scared, when you're afraid, maybe when you're intoxicated. And so we have to remember those types of things.
These 5 former players from the junior team have all pleaded not guilty to sex assault, while McLeod has also pleaded not guilty to being a party to the offense. The jury was also shown images of a text exchange the next day in which McLeod asked if she went to the police. Under cross-examination, EM said her mom initially contacted police, while her mom's boyfriend contacted Hockey Canada. Her testimony continues tomorrow. John Vanavalley-Rao, CTV News, London, Ontario.
And a judge in Quebec has sentenced the son of former Maple Leaf Shane Corson to jail after he was convicted of sexual assault against a minor. According to the Montreal Gazette, Noah Lee Jete Corson was handed a sentence of 2 years less a day for his role in a sexual assault back in 2016. At the time, Jete Corson was a player in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He was found guilty last year. The Crown has sought a 30-month prison term. The defense was seeking a sentence that could be served in the community.
Israel's prime minister says a new offensive in the Gaza Strip will be an intensive operation intended to defeat Hamas. He also indicated the troops will not be leaving afterwards. Benjamin Netanyahu stopped short of detailing how much of the territory would be seized, but said people in the enclave will be moved for their own protection. The Prime Minister's Security Cabinet approved the plan today. An Israeli defense official said it would not begin before U.S. President Donald Trump concludes his visit to the Middle East next week. Israeli troops have already taken over about a third of the Gaza Strip, displacing the population and building surveillance posts in areas the military has described as security zones. But the new plan would go further. A Liberation Day ceremony was held in the Netherlands today, commemorating 80 years since the country was freed from occupation during the Second World War.
The Dutch are forever grateful to the Canadian soldiers who led the way, and today there was an outpouring of reverence and gratitude. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the story.
To the Dutch, they are conquering heroes, even 80 years later.
One photo, please.
101-year-old General Richard Romer was then a 21-year-old Canadian fighter pilot, part of the final push to free Holland from Hitler's grasp. Today, he's soaking in the gratitude. Time has not diminished.
I was thrilled by it, and just delighted because they were there for Canada, because they love Canada, and Canada was the main country involved in liberating them.
The Freedom Parade through the streets of Wageningen started in front of this hotel where a Canadian general secured the German surrender that ended a 5-year Nazi occupation. It was one of Canada's greatest moments of the war, but close to 8,000 Canadians sacrificed their lives, which is why Romer...
Good afternoon.
And the 24 other Canadian veterans in the Dutch Freedom Parade are being received with so much respect. Yesterday, in a powerful moment, poppies were dropped from the sky at a Canadian war cemetery as Dutch children said each soldier's name out loud and placed 2 roses on each grave. It's been a reception the Governor General says is emotional to take in.
Both an inspirational and a bit of sadness and hope. There's hope. You know, people have fought for our freedom, and this is just an indication that we will never forget that. Our freedom came at a very big price.
It has been quite a trip for these veterans who will now head back to Canada, feeling the love of an entire nation that, even after 80 years, has not forgotten the Canadian sacrifice and courage that helped end the Second World War in this country. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Wageningen, the Netherlands.
In the UK, 4 days of commemorations marking the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day have begun. A grand military parade was held involving more than 1,300 members of Britain's armed forces. They marched through central London, from outside Parliament to Buckingham Palace. There will be a series of events in the run-up to the anniversary of Germany's unconditional surrender that took effect May 8, 1945. The parade and a flypast were watched by the King and other senior royals, who later hosted a tea party for about 50 veterans. And back here at home, a ceremony was held at Sunnybrook Veterans Center to mark the anniversary.
CTV's John Musselman was there and has the details.
Thank you very much for your service.
Premier Doug Ford called it an honor and a privilege to present 40 residents at Sunnybrook's Veterans Center with the King Charles III Coronation Medal. The medal recognizes individuals for their significant contributions to Canada. That includes people like William Hines.
It's important recognition, not only of myself, but of all the others who went before us. An indication of what a great country we have.
My dad flew in Halifax bombers during the Second World War, and then he was an RCAF career officer for the rest of his career. He's 103, just has celebrated his birthday a little bit ago.
The men and women honored today served our country in wartime. All of them are 100 years old or more.
but I'm 107 and I'm the oldest in here.
Very proud, yes, and he certainly deserves it. He's done a lot for the country, even since the war. He did a lot of good things for the communities that he lived in.
It's kind of amazing. That's what it is, and most appreciated.
Such an honor to come by and present them with the King Charles Medal and just thank them for their service.
Today's ceremony comes on the 80th anniversary, May 5th, 1945, of Liberation Day. That's when Allied soldiers accepted the surrender of German forces in the Netherlands. John Musselman, CTV News.
Coming up, a 70s rock star inspires a new generation. The triumphant Coast to Coast Kids Musical Coalition just ahead.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you sell an expensive item, you might ask for a bank draft to make sure the funds are secure. But now criminals are making fake ones. A small business was just scammed out of more than $100,000. All of that story, that's just ahead.
So we are expecting some wet and potentially stormy weather a little later this evening. And then once the winds ease, watch for patchy fog overnight. Tomorrow's forecast daytime high 18 degrees. And while there is the chance of wet weather, we will also enjoy some periods of sun. A look at your weather forecast is coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
If you're selling an expensive item privately, like a car, you may not want to accept cash or a check and instead ask for a bank draft.
Bank drafts are considered a secure way to accept payment, but now criminals are creating fake ones to use in scams. Pat Foran has our story on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. A small business contacted us after it was scammed by a fake bank draft. The company even took it to a bank where a teller said it was the real thing, but it bounced 2 days later, and now the business is out more than $100,000.
It looks like every other bank draft.
Patrick Bennett of Lancaster, Ontario, runs an excavation business and needed to sell a skid steer. He put the piece of equipment up for sale and was contacted by someone who wanted to buy it.
They were here maybe 20 minutes, asked a few questions, tried it out, and then they loaded up and took off.
The selling price for the skid steer was just over $108,000. Before the buyer came, they agreed payment would be made with a bank draft.
We're comfortable with the situation. Like, there's a receipt from the transaction. He had called from a bank.
Bennett says while he felt the bank draft looked real, he took it to a Scotiabank to ask a teller if it was legitimate.
Teller looked at it, said, yeah, no, you're good. It's a legit check. And says, yeah, I even have the receipt. Nothing to worry about. It'll clear.
The bank draft did clear, but 2 days later it was declared fraudulent and the money was removed from his account.
100% fake. So, of course, I'm in shock. And, oh, my God, like, it's all our money. Like, we're in overdraft at this point. And
Scotiabank told CTV News, Scotiabank does not have a comment for this story. Bennett banks with Desjardins. A spokesperson said when the draft was found to be fraudulent, it was returned and the funds withdrawn from the account. This person has been the victim of fraud.
We are finding that in-person fraud is being committed with some frequency.
Title insurance company FCT raised concerns recently with a study that showed criminals are now using new technology to create fake bank documents.
They are leveraging, these fakes that are virtually undetectable to the human eye.
In the end, Bennett's insurance company agreed he was the victim of theft and decided to cover the loss of the $108,000, which was a relief for him.
It means we can continue on and just keep doing what we've been doing and kind of put it behind us. We'll be extremely careful going forward. We're very lucky.
And if you're selling an expensive item, you may want to meet the buyer at their bank and witness the bank draft being ordered. You could also wait until it clears, but that could take several days before it's official. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, for Leaf fans at Maple Leaf Square, perhaps the ponchos is a good idea.
Yeah, you have to come prepared. It's not that cold right now. It's quite warm at this hour, but you can kind of feel it in the air. There's a storm a-brewing.
There is. You know, the winds have started to pick up a little bit. They've been coming out of the east today. And as we have learned, or as we already know, that can make things feel a little cooler by the lake. Could be the case right now, today, around west end of the GTA, for example, in and around Hamilton, and perhaps downtown Toronto. And yes, at this point, we are waiting for the wet weather. Here's what it looked like a little bit earlier today. Yes, it's been a cloudy day, but look at that beautiful pop of color once again at High Park. The cherry blossoms are in full bloom. If you want to venture out and check them out, maybe not this evening as far as ideal weather conditions are concerned, but over the next couple of days here, several good windows of opportunity to check them out. Here's a look at what we're dealing with. The satellite and radar is very active, mainly stateside, and we're starting to see some of these showers cross the border and bring us some wet weather here in southern Ontario. So rain and perhaps thunderstorms for this evening, and then over the next couple of days, some shower activity is going to be possible. Here's a look at how much rain we're anticipating, maybe heavier amounts around Hamilton and Kingston as this low circulates, but upwards of 10 millimeters possible in Toronto as well. So there's 8 p.m. It looks like some of the heaviest rain is going to impact the west end of the GTA as opposed to the east. Overnight, we're unsettled, and then waking up to more morning showers possible. But look at this. Conditions are going to clear out quite nicely for the afternoon, holding on to the chance of a shower and the risk of a thunderstorm, but certainly drier. Wednesday is another mostly cloudy day, and then the pattern starts to change as we make our way into Thursday. Temperature right now, 18 degrees in Toronto. That's the warmest we've been all day long. That's clearly a bit of a mistake with the computer. 55 in Wyerton. It's not that warm, but it is warmer the further north you travel. Here's a look at tonight's forecast low. About 12 in Toronto is eventually where we will fall to, warmer than normal. And then waking up tomorrow morning, very early risers might encounter maybe a few showers, perhaps a non-severe thunderstorm. And then the rest of the day looks a little bit drier by comparison. Here is your 7-day forecast. 16 degrees and cloud cover on Wednesday. A little cooler for Thursday at 13. But look at the sunshine that starts to filter back in. Hey, 20 degrees perhaps on Saturday, and then it looks at this point like Mother Nature is going to cooperate for Mother's Day. That's your 7-day forecast for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, Ontario's top doctor is urging vaccination amid rising cases of measles in the province. We take a closer look at vaccination levels right now and where to get a shot of protection.
The latest measles figures puts Ontario's cases above 1,200, but only in the Kingston area are vaccinations at the 95% level, which is targeted by health officials.
Our health reporter Pauline Chan looks at the options to get that protective shot, especially for children.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says the measles vaccine is extremely safe and offers 97% protection with 2 doses against the highly contagious virus.
But we need to do more. It's a global increase in measles risk across the planet, and we need to protect Ontarians as best we can.
Typically, it's given to infants at 12 months, with a second dose given between 4 and 6 years of age. But vaccination levels after the pandemic have varied across the province, with Halton seeing a low of 24.6% in 7-year-olds during the 2022-23 school year.
So for 7-year-olds, we have vaccine coverage for MMR of around 90%, and for 17-year-olds, around 95%.
Dr. Alex Summers, Medical Officer of Health for Middlesex London, says his region, like Toronto and so many others, has offered periodic catch-up clinics for childhood immunizations. Online bookings are also available for those without a regular doctor, but in Toronto, the website shows no appointments available. There have been 3 confirmed measles cases in the city so far this year.
We are quite successful in delivering vaccine in schools for grade 7 students when it comes to HPV, hepatitis B, and meningococcal vaccine. And I think we could play an even more expanded role in delivering those vaccines.
Summers is open to the idea of school-based catch-up clinics for the measles vaccine, but Dr. Hamida Magani of Peel Region points out the importance of a visit to a primary care provider.
It is important actually for them to go and get that vaccine with their primary care physician, because that's also a great time for the family doctor to be looking and making sure that that child is developing and getting all of the information to the parents.
As for the possibility of offering vaccinations through pharmacies, she says the convenience could help speed up immunizations across the province. But for now, Dr. Kieran Moore says local health units are your best option. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Two young dancers from right here in the GTA are making their mark on the international stage.
The pair recently won a world-renowned dance competition in England and have their eyes set on a world championship. CTV's Jessica Smith has their story.
At just 12 and 13 years old, Mark Rostorozny and Maya Pavlenko are international ballroom dance champions.
It was tough work. We had to go through a lot of training in the morning, late nights, a lot of training, a lot of pressure, but we got to first place and we're very happy about it.
The ballroom pair are fresh off a first-place finish in the standard division in the junior under-14 category at the world-renowned Blackpool Dance Festival in the United Kingdom. And after multiple rounds in a variety of different styles, they were crowned champions.
It's like waltzes, tango, foxtrots, beanies, waltz, quick step.
So you did all of those?
Yes, lap dances.
Both Mark and Maya say the keys to their success is a combination of practice and a love for their craft.
We have to understand each other. Yeah, like understand like if he's the leader or he is the leader. I have to follow him, whatever he's doing. I kind of have to copy. I have to go after him and not just do my own thing.
It's just love, dedication, and many hours, and lots of resources for sure.
Now international champions, the winning duos say the big dream is to one day be recognized globally.
World championship? Yeah, world championship. We're coming to it. Yeah, we're getting to it.
Up next for Mark and Maya is the Canadian National Championship competition in August in Ottawa. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Very nice. After the break, preparing for the playoffs. The Toronto Scepters get ready to hit the ice against the defending PWHL champions. A preview of their matchup against the Minnesota Frost coming up.
It's nonsense. It's hard to understand what he means.
Updating our top stories, Toronto's film industry on edge over tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump on foreign-made films, citing what he calls a national security threat. Trump said he's considering 100% tariffs on all movies made outside of the U.S. In 2023, there were 400 film and TV productions in this province, creating more than 25,000 jobs and $1.8 billion in economic activity.
Protesters gathered outside the courthouse in London, Ontario, as 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team arrived. They heard testimony from the complainant in their sexual assault trial. The woman told jurors she felt drunk, numb, and demeaned. The 5 accused have pleaded not guilty.
Anytime you're playing the Stanley Cup champions, you're going to be the underdog, right?
And the Maple Leafs are getting set to start their second-round playoff series against the Florida Panthers tonight. The Panthers are defending Stanley Cup champions, but 3 players from that championship team now play for the Blue and White. Players and fans say they know the Panthers won't be easy to beat. Puck drop is at 8.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video breaking news, let us know.
To business news now, and the latest tariff threat from the U.S. president is causing more concern on this side of the border. Mirella Fernandez has the latest from the BNN Bloomberg newsroom.
The American president now has his sights set on Hollywood, saying he wants to tariff movies that aren't produced in the U.S. Trump says Hollywood is dying, and that's why he wants to mark up foreign-made movies 100%. The news is rattling the entertainment industry, although it's not clear how the president plans to do this. Trump says he will meet with movie executives before making any final decision. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar made a small move up to 72.41. West Texas Intermediate is down more than $1 to 57.13. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down to 48.58. And the TSX is down 77 points today to 24,953. Those are your business headlines. I'm Mirella Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Toronto Scepters are getting ready for the opening series of the postseason after finding out who they will play.
For Ottawa, takes it in. Has Savalainen on the far side. Mrazovich shot. She scores!
The Scepters will host the defending champion Minnesota Frost for Game 1 on Wednesday. Toronto earned home ice advantage by finishing second in the standings. The two teams will square off again Friday before the semifinal series shifts to Minnesota on Sunday. The Montreal Victoire finished first in the regular season and elected to play the third-place Ottawa Charge. The winners of each best-of-5 will advance to the final.
Meanwhile, the NHL draft lottery is tonight. The San Jose Sharks have the best odds of getting the first overall pick for a second straight year at 18.5%. The lottery will determine the order of selection in the June draft for the 16 teams that did not make the playoffs. Top-ranked North American skaters include defenseman Matthew Schaefer of the Erie Otters and center Michael Misa of the Saginaw Spirit.
To baseball, former Toronto Blue Jay Ross Stripling is calling it a career. The right-hander announced his retirement from Major League Baseball today after 9 seasons. The 35-year-old says he feels incredibly lucky to be so content with leaving the game behind and beginning the next chapter of life with his family. Stripling played for 4 teams, including the Jays, from 2020 to 2022.
What? He's going to catch the ball. She covers his eyes.
How about that?
And he still caught it.
It's dad power right there.
That's
in New
impressive.
York, a Yankees fan was all set to snatch a ball, headed his way during a game against the Rays on the weekend, but at that last minute, you see his daughter covers his eyes. Still, look at that. He was able to make the catch. Impressive indeed.
More golfers have been added to the field for next month's Canadian Open. Justin Rose, Wyndham Clark, Max Homa, and Shane Lowry will be playing when the tournament begins June 5th in Caledon. Defending champion Robert McIntyre will be back, along with 2-time winner Rory McIlroy. Several Canadians have also been announced for the field.
And the first Canadian Olympians for the 2026 Winter Games have been named. Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant will compete in the mixed doubles curling event. The husband and wife team from Chestermere, Alberta, provisionally earned their nomination by winning the Canadian trials in January. 10 countries will participate in mixed doubles curling from February 4th to the 10th during the Milan Cortina Olympics in Italy.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It was a hit for Canadian rockers Triumph back in the 1970s, and today it was sung by thousands of kids born decades later.
And as CTV's Andrea Case reports, it was all part of Music Monday in support of music education.
In 1979, the Canadian rock band Triumph recorded the hit song Hold On, and today it is inspiring a whole new generation. Band member, drummer, and vocalist Gil Moore says Triumph was happy to lend their song to Music Monday by the Coalition for Music Education.
Music is one of those things that brings so much good into all of us. From the mental side, I'm saying not just having fun with music, but actually what it does to your brain, which is now, of course, being proven out. Research universities like McMaster, who are gathering empirical data on this. So it's really not the time to cut back music when kids need it most.
Over 200,000 kids and 1,700 teachers from coast to coast to coast took time out of their day to sing the song. Stacey Sinclair is the executive director for the Coalition for Music Education. At a time when school boards are considering cutting music programs, she says music is more important than ever.
It affects you in so many different ways. It's not just fun to play music, but it affects our children's social development, their mental health, emotional well-being, and it affects their brain.
This is the 21st year for Music Monday, and while Triumph is the big-name band that's lending their music to the organization this year, in past years, the estate of Oscar Peterson, Serena Ryder, and Bare Naked Lady, Ed Robertson, along with Commander Chris Hatfield, have all taken part. As the owner of Metalworks Recording Studio, a member of the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and a 50-year career in music, Moore says music is worth fighting for.
The best thing is not having to have a day job, It's really, really a great village, the people that are in the music village, and I'm just grateful to be part of it.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
They sound fantastic.
How lovely. Yes, and we're hoping the Leafs are triumphant tonight, and then hopefully the weather doesn't get too ugly.
Yeah, I don't know if you like this song, but we have some wet weather moving in. And Nathan, you and I were just chatting about the direction of these showers. So let's take one more look at the satellite and radar imagery. Typically, we see rain move from west to east across the GTA, but look at this. These showers are approaching from the southeast, from south of the border. This is all thanks to a cutoff low. It's circulating. We're getting wraparound showers, and that low really doesn't have anywhere to go all that quickly, which is why we are expecting a healthy amount of wet weather through the night tonight. Here's tomorrow at a glance. Get outside, enjoy those cherry blossoms. Many different locations around the city where you can go to check them out. But of course, High Park is a notable destination at this time of year. 7-day forecast looks like this. We are expecting drier conditions through the rest of the week, and especially heading into the weekend. Conditions look pretty pleasant with a mix of sun and cloud and some comfortable temperatures overall. Michelle and Nathan.
A lot to look forward to. Thanks, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Alman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.